The iterative process for improving, according to the theory of constraints, is called the 5 focusing steps. The first step is to identify the system's constraint, which is very obvious when we're talking about the theory of constraints. You have to know where it is, right? The second step is to better exploit the system's constraint. And this is already a very exciting stage, because normally what you're doing is saying that that resource is more important than everybody else. And therefore you can concentrate, you're allowed to treat them as VIP resources. They have the priority with everything, and just by doing that, by focusing people's management attention on those resources, you can get easily 20% more out of the system, which means you're getting 20% more out of your company, right? Step 3 is to subordinate everything else to that decision. It means that you should not, for instance, be using all your non-bottlenecks, your non-constraints to their full potential, but only according to the requirements of the market or the requirements of the constraint. So you have to learn to stop working. And as a result, this is, I believe, one of the most difficult steps to implement when you're using the theory of constraints in production, because you have to change completely people's mindset and people's attitude to work, since it's now required to learn to stop working intelligently. This is, if you think about it, very similar to what's being done in Kanban cards in a pool system, where if I don't have any Kanbans, I have to stop working. That's how you keep everything synchronized. It's necessary to stop working from time to time in certain places in your organization to keep the flow properly synchronized. That's what Subordinate is all about. And because it requires having the courage to honestly stop working, visibly stop working, whatever you're doing, even if it's an expensive machine, that's why it's difficult. Be warned, there are 2 very similar steps here, step 2 and 4, and the difference between them is the second step, exploit, is what you can do immediately right now without spending any money and without wasting any time. Step 4 is the same subject, but it's taken on the longer, medium to long term, where you can invest, you can hire people, you can install new machines or whatever, okay? So you're opening up the constraint, making it produce more and more and more. As a result, at a certain stage, you'll get to step 5, which is, in fact, you've broken the constraint, you've broken the bottleneck, right? It's moved elsewhere. Once that's happened, well, you start again. It's an iterative process. You go and find where the new constraint is, and you repeat the process. Eliyahu Goldratt pointed out that in step 5, beware of inertia. What he means by that is, if you apply properly the first 5 steps, you're going to get significant improvement in the throughput and the profits of the company, right? And you could be tempted to say, hey, we're making twice as much money as before. I can stop here, right? That's not the point at all. It's a continuous race. You need to go back and take it to the next stage, right? That's what beware of inertia is. That is the official version of the 5 focusing steps. But as I will describe later on in the course, this approach is fine. Certainly at the beginning it's fine, but I think that for experienced people applying the theory of constraints, you probably have to start thinking about where the best constraint would be in your system, where the least bad bottleneck is in your factory and that sort of stuff, okay? But anyway, the 5 focusing steps is how you start. Later on, as you get a lot more mature in this, you might want to stop and think about, is this maybe an intelligent place for me to have my constraint in the system?